What's going on, motivators? We got another video. We got to talk about the left being haters to the United States. Let's get into this.
Here to discuss the impeachment trigger-happy Democrat, Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. Stephen, so is the White House shaking in its boots over this potential third impeachment with these people? This is insane.
The Democrats are the party of communists, radical leftists, crazy lunatics, and America haters. Every time they have tried to go after President Trump with their hoaxes, their witch hunts, their lies, their...
Stephen Miller is being right on point right now. Right on point. Straight up communist, socialist, leftist. These people, I don't understand. The left used to be something very close to the right. Nowadays, they're far removed. Even people from the left don't recognize the left anymore.
You don't seem crazy, and I have certainly seen people who refuse to go all the way with the purity lovers on the left, suddenly castigated and cast out and attacked like this. So is that what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Parts of my party just wants to turn me into a Colonel Kurtz, and just claim that it's like, I'm just like a...
You look like you could play the part.
Really, that would happen, after Israel and after the border, and some of the times I might have to disagree with my party, and that's really brought us to that place where, just that kind of a canceling was a little bit a different thing, but now we've all moved on from that, but absolutely, that's the truth.
Some of the things they said were that you weren't showing up, and then I read further and read what you said about it, and it seemed like you weren't showing up for bullshit, but a lot of what the senators are required to do just doesn't matter. You don't really have to be there.
Oh, yeah.
One of them is called bed check. What is that?
Yeah, bed check vote. It's like these votes really doesn't matter. That's why they're called bed check.
Yeah, Fetterman is the only one that makes sense in the Democrat Party right now, in the senator. He's the only one. Only common sense Democrat out there.
They also seem to go after you because you will talk to the other side. You talk to Trump. We all know that's bad.
We're one of the few people that actually have dinner with Trump.
Yeah, and you also, I think, I don't know if you had dinner with Steve Bannon, but he was at your table or something at a restaurant that MAGA people go to. It's like, well, what are we, in high school now? You can't sit at the same lunch table with these people?
Oh, I wasn't even having dinner with him, with Steve Bannon.
You drop by the table?
Yeah, well, no, he lives close by, and the guy that I was having a beer with, the guy, Steve said, hey, I'd like to come over and just say hello, and sure, that's fine. He just sat down. We weren't having dinner, doing anything like that. I hate to use the phrase fake news.
Wow, common sense, common sense. You could still disagree, but still sit down and have lunch.
But that's really was. I wasn't like having, like dinner with Steve Bannon, but I was just hanging out, just talking to the other side. And now, if you break those kinds of rules, then you do have to pay a price for that, as I know you have too.
But you could have dinner with him, right? It wouldn't turn you into a zombie.
Well, yeah. Well,
They've went cuckoo. You cannot talk to anyone. Everyone has to remain in their own box. How will everything be accomplished for the United States if we all just stand outside? We have to somewhat give a little, right? Bipartisanship, a little here, a little there. These people want you to believe that they're not talking. Behind closed doors, they're talking. And they lead the American people to think that they're not talking. And then people don't talk to their families, friends, because it's so polarized right now.
Fake news, their persecutions, all they've succeeded in doing is making President Trump more popular, more successful, more beloved by the American people, and humiliating themselves in utter disgrace. As President Trump has said, the Democrats are only good at two things: sticking together and cheating. That's all they're good at. Their policies are terrible, unpopular, and hated. Open borders, record crime, coddling criminals, massive taxes, shutting down American energy, shutting down American oil production, transgender for kids, transgender for everybody, radical indoctrination in our schools, and bowing and surrendering to our enemies at home and abroad. That's the Democrat Party. That's what President Trump is fighting against each and every day, Laura.
And that is why they want to impeach him so bad. They want to impeach him because They don't like his policies.
Section 3 of the 25th Amendment is about a temporary disability. I like to think of it as the colonoscopy provision, because it's been used in a number of cases of presidential colonoscopy where a president goes under for several hours and willingly, voluntarily, and freely signs something saying the vice president will have the powers of the president as long as I am under anesthesia and I'm away for this period. And that's been used multiple times. Okay, what everybody's talking about is Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. And what this says is that the vice president and a majority of the cabinet can determine that the president is unable to successfully discharge the powers and duties of office, and thereby transfer the powers of the office to the vice president. Now, the president has the opportunity to challenge that and oppose that, in which case it goes to a vote of the Congress, and there needs to be a 2/3 vote in order to maintain the transfer of power. Now, here's the wrinkle. The Section 4 of the 25th Amendment says the vice president and majority of the cabinet can initiate this process, or the vice president and the majority of a body set up by Congress for these purposes can determine that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of office. In 2017 and in 2020,
people are going to try to find every little avenue to push their agenda. That's not going to happen. That you're going to have the vice president and the cabinet go ahead and try to impeach Trump or to find him unfit for duty. These people have wishful thinking. And those same people who are touting that, where were they touting for Joe Biden, which they knew he wasn't as sharp as they said that he was? Imagine that. Or that he could have beat anyone in the morning with the young people around him. He was more agile than they were. Lies, lies, lies. But again, you could see through the Democrats. When it's their people, they make it seem like there's no worries. Someone else, the sky is always falling.
Impeachment is easier than actually governing, right? They're not about governing. They want to rule over us, not actually govern the country. But Stephen, during this presser on the DHS shutdown issue, Minority Leader Schumer seemed to blame you for letting this drag on. Watch.
Republicans seem to have a different priority. $140 billion for ICE and Border Patrol. No reforms, no accountability, no strings attached. Senate Republicans are choosing to follow Trump and Stephen Miller instead of the needs of the American families.
So are you going to confess on the show tonight, Steve? You're the one who's preventing DHS from getting this funding bill that it needs?
President Trump has presided over the most successful, secure, strong border in the history, not only of this country, but of any country in the entire Western world.
That's the problem too. When it comes to the border, you can see the border is pretty much closed, but they still don't want to fund anything. They let over 20 million people in. We don't even know. It could be 30. We don't know. Over 20 million people in. And now we're asking to get him out. They won't let him out. They won't even fund it. That's what I'm telling you. Democrats are all playing games. They're touting games. Everything that have happened with ICE is because of Democrats. If they didn't create the problem, Republicans would not have to come in and try to fix it. And instead of just letting people come in and try to fix it, they create opposition with people protesting. These people, they have an ulterior agenda. It's to just break the American people apart. Divide, divide, divide. Plain and simple.
In other words, not just in America, but every other country has talked about securing its borders. Italy, France, England, all across the world. Only one man and one country has actually succeeded in securing its sovereign borders, and that man and that leader is President Trump. The Democrat Party committed war crimes against this nation by flooding our country with foreign terrorists. Tren de Aragua, MS-13, the Mexican Mafia, the Sinaloa Cartel, the most violent, ruthless terrorist organizations on planet Earth to maim, rape, and murder our people. Every single day, you read another horror story about a rapist, a murderer, a thug, a monster, a child predator let into this country by the Democrats, attacking our families, attacking our children, preying on the innocent in our high schools, in our colleges, dragging people to their deaths, beating them senseless, hacking them to death with machetes. That's what you're seeing from Democrat policies. President Trump, by contrast, record deep.
Another thing, too, Democrats are never going to say anything about the people who died by illegal means. Never. But let one illegal die, they're going to make posters, billboard, and protest. It's like these people, everything is backwards. You should be going out for your neighbors, actually your legal neighbors, not the illegals who are going to commit crime in your neighborhood. The person who died could have been a family member of somebody you probably know in the neighborhood. But they're going to protest for an illegal who got captured and trying to be sent back home. It's all backwards with the Democrats. They're not for America.
Well, of course, this is another example of radical left lawfare. Look, it's what Democrats do. I mean, this is the country we're living in today. The Democrat Party, the ACLU, the SPLC, the radical left, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, on down, their lawyers, their organizations, their NGOs. What do? They wake up in the morning and say, how do we flood America with illegals from the third world? That's what animates them. That's what excites them. That's what motivates them. It's just another example of that, of Democrats trying to.
I think it's more so, how do we make sure we go against the American people so that we could piss them off more? These people, nothing he just mentioned in there is something that's going to make the Americans' lives better. It's always the illegal immigrants first. Why do illegal immigrants have more rights than most United States personnel? They get free stuff and you got to work for stuff. They got free stuff. Man, I should have known.
Pry open our borders. It will fail. And President Trump, obviously his Department of Justice, will appeal this ruling, and he will continue to use every resource we have, military, diplomatic, law enforcement, national security, that we have to keep the border sealed shut, to keep illegal aliens out of our country.
What happens now?
But again, you're
Steve,
dealing with a Democrat Party that loves nothing more than flooding this country with people who don't belong here. But Laura,
what are you going to do now? You had a Biden judge, you had an Obama judge, then you had the Trump appointee was in dissent, so it's a three-judge panel in the Court of Appeals. I guess this has to go, presumably.
It's going to go to the Supreme Court.
It'll go to the court.
The president has plenary authority under Section 212F of the INA to prohibit the entry of any class of aliens that he deems necessary. That's the black and white statute.
And this is so two-faced. In Biden, he could have amended and he could have created an executive order to allow it in. But Trump cannot create an executive order and say no. These people, you could see, it's a two-faced politician type workout. Biden created all these little areas where he could allow personnel to come in under executive rule, which it actually went through because he has that power. Trump is doing the opposite. And now it's being challenged. I'm telling you, these people are not for the Americans. How much power we could get and how long we could stay in power. You got old Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. They should be gone already. 78, 80 years old, they should be gone. But they're going to stay in there until they can't walk anymore. It's amazing.
But in the meantime, I assure you, under President Trump's leadership, every and all tool is being used and will be used to keep that border sealed shut. But look, we are in an existential struggle as a country because we have a movement of people in the Democrat Party who hate borders, hate Americans, hate citizens,
abide
don't want
by
this way
the
of life to
judge's
continue.
ruling?
I'm not going to advertise to the cartels. I'm not going to advertise to the smugglers what tools President Trump and Secretary Mullen are deploying, but I can promise you, we are going to keep the border sealed completely, totally, fully shut, and this abomination of a ruling, this abomination of a decision will be appealed, will win in front of the Supreme Court. And
I'm pretty sure no matter what they do, Secretary Mullen in right now, along with President Trump, you got Stephen too, you got great minds behind that. So no matter what they try, they're going to be some kind of pushback to it. It's not just some wishy-washy stuff like Democrats do. These people, they actually go and watch legal stuff within the Constitution, where they have rights and where they don't have rights before they apply. But you could see the Democrats are going against the Trump administration, trying to secure America, creating better streets for the Americans, safe haven, building a culture, building an environment, a community without some illegal being in here who may cause some mischief. So let me know what you think inside the comments. All right, motivators, if you enjoy what you've seen and heard, please like, comment, share, but most importantly, subscribe to A Black Veteran's Perspective. Stay motivated.